Hello, welcome to the podcast There Is No Spoon. Today, I would like to discuss a rarely encountered concept existential self care. This concept consists of two parts. The second part, self care, is already well covered in popular psychology. The overused advice to take care of yourself is something you have heard time and time again. In fact, these words really need to be repeated many times, especially if you have grown up in a collectivist culture. Academic psychology distinguishes between two types of cultures: individualistic, such as those in Europe and the US, and collectivist, such as China and other East Asian countries. What is the danger of an excessive shift toward collectivism? It leads to collective values overshadowing individual ones. Historically, prioritizing collective values helped ensure survival in harsh conditions. But today, this tendency can become an anachronism. The dangers of extreme collectivism can be seen in various historical examples, including totalitarian regimes where individual dissent was suppressed in favor of collective ideology. When individuality disappears, no one is left to say, "Stop." The history of Soviet Russia is also deeply connected to collective thinking. I am not here to judge whether this is good or bad, only to state it as a fact. Many people in collectivist cultures are not taught to care for themselves. In addition to collectivism, cultural traditions of self-sacrifice further reinforce this mindset. Even if we do not act in the interests of a collective, we may still act in the interests of another individual, but not ourselves. The first and most crucial step toward self-care is healthy selfishness. The ability to bring joy to oneself. Because if you cannot make yourself happy, you cannot truly bring happiness to others. Without experience, this remains an abstract concept, and from there, it is only a short step to Grindelwald's idea of the greater good. A person must reach the stage of self-affirmation and healthy self-interest. Both Jung and von Franz openly wrote about this. But this stage is not the end. This is where the second part of the equation comes into play, the adjective existential. Think about what self-care is associated with for most people. Once again, I will turn to the pseudo-higher intelligence of OpenAI GPT-4. The AI suggests that self-care is often associated with the following aspects. The first is physical health. Undoubtedly, self-care includes taking care of one's body in all aspects: health, appearance, pleasant scent, or at least the absence of an unpleasant one, proper nutrition, and more. The second aspect is mental health, a new trend, but a very positive one. As the saying goes, keep your shadow to yourself, along with all other projections. This phrase should be repeated by everyone like a mantra. More practically, it involves managing stress, anxiety, uncertainty, and other challenges, as well as the ability to rest and replenish resources. The third aspect is social connections. Truly, humans are social animals. Without the other, not only in Lacanian terms, but also in everyday life, it is difficult to achieve well-being and, as a result, to be healthy. Then, personal development. This point is undoubtedly drawn from the countless Western coaching materials that promote a success-driven mindset. How to achieve success, where to find it, and what to do with it afterward. But in all seriousness, realizing oneself in some area, whether in a profession or a hobby, is necessary for living a fulfilling life. And the fifth aspect is spirituality. The AI emphasizes that some people need spiritual practices to be in harmony with themselves and nature. That sounds reasonable. These are 5 excellent and well-structured points that fairly accurately reflect reality. But take another look. Doesn't it feel like something is missing? Everything seems to be in place. If we arrange them according to Maslow's hierarchy of needs, it looks perfect. What's missing, surprisingly, is life itself. All the above points create a field or space for a person, but none of them answer the question, why does a person live their life? Each of these aspects can be addressed with a well-organized schedule. But the only remaining time will be for sleep. On such a person's gravestone, it could be written, "He was a great person, lived the right way, took care of himself, and died healthy and loved." But did he truly live? This brings us to the key question of today's discussion. What is true self-care? Let's recall Nietzsche's words, "Live your life to the fullest and die at the right time." Sartre writes, "I was gradually approaching the end, knowing that my hopes and desires had been carefully measured to fill my books, confident that the last beat of my heart would fit neatly into the final paragraph of the last volume of my writings, that death would find nothing left alive." Existential self-care is the pursuit of living one's unique life. It is the process of Jungian individuation. It is the fulfillment of true thelemic desires. Existential self-care is the effort to minimize existential guilt, the guilt that arises whenever we fail to do what we were meant to do. Existential self-care is the willingness to ignore immediate desires and basic needs when the soul calls for something else. Think of Viktor Frankl's experience. Even when sentenced to death in a concentration camp, he did not cling to life and basic needs. He clung to his freedom. Existential self-care is choosing to do what you believe is right, rather than what is easy or socially approved. To be fair, everything I have said so far is my personal interpretation of existential self-care. I believe each person has their own understanding of it, and the task of each individual is to discover what that means for them. Existential self-care is the search for the answer to what it means for you, and once you understand, it is the commitment to follow that understanding. Rational people have learned to take care of their bodies. In recent years, the most advanced individuals have begun to care for their psyche as well. This is commendable and in itself a great achievement. But times are changing. And now it is necessary to allocate resources for taking care of the soul. Both the body and the psyche are essential components. They create a field of opportunities for growth and transformation. But in themselves, they change nothing. That is something only a person can do. It is time for existential self-care. This was the podcast, There Is No Spoon. Until next time.